I'm Kenneth, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Every relationship is different and every breakup is different. Work with me and you'll get professional help on your situation. And if you're in no contact, focused on personal growth, my workbook series, The Knowledge, will help you make changes like you've never made before. Available now at AskCraig.net. Hi there, I'm Coach Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And in today's video, we're going to be talking to you about why would they do this to me? It is hard seeing somebody that you love treat you like they don't care about you anymore or walk away from you. It's very painful and it's very confusing. And a lot of times we find ourselves obsessing about why they would do it or how they could do it to you. I know for me personally, when it happened to me, I felt like I don't understand. If our connection's so good, we get along so great, how could you do this? Why would you want to do this? It didn't make sense to me at the time. You know?
For me, yeah, I remember it being like, you know this person so intimately and so closely, and after all of this time connecting and investing in one another, for them to end the relationship and say, no, I'm no longer investing in this, was wild to me.
Yeah, especially when they go from someone that's so close to you and warm to you to acting like a different person. That makes it even worse.
Yeah.
Some people can have some compassion and empathy to really communicate, but many people aren't functioning on a level that allows them to do that, right? So when this happens to you, it really feels like a betrayal, right? Like this person that I loved and trusted is not only abandoning me, but maybe for somebody else or in a cold, cruel way. And you may have been together for many, many years. And it's hard because that abandonment almost feels like death, right? Because we're hardwired to stay connected to our loved ones and the people that we bond with. That's how humans stay safe. So if someone abandons you, it feels like you're left out in the middle of the woods by yourself and you have to survive. Biologically, that's just what happens to human beings. And it's so overwhelming. And you could be sitting there with your thoughts overwhelmed with sadness and fear and anxiety and just obsessing about how could they do this to me? Why would they do this to me? So we're going to talk about this today and dealing with the shock of having somebody that loved you ending the relationship and breaking up with you.
Yeah, and what we hope is that through this video you'll gain a little bit more perspective and be able to see the situation in a different way, even if it's just slightly different. So we want to start out by saying that people tend to view the future based on their current emotions and how they're feeling at the moment. So I say that because many people will make promises to love you and to be there in your life forever. You know, some of you have even been married and are going through separations and divorces and can think, well, there was a promise there. You know, how can somebody break this promise? People make decisions often based on how they're feeling in the moment.
That's right. They really do.
And so it's important to remember that people do change. People do go through different experiences that can cause them to see things differently, to feel different ways, and therefore then make decisions based off of those changed feelings.
That's right.
Something that I want to say here too is that many times we can get caught into this mindset of they promised me. And we cannot get over the fact that somebody went back on their word. That in itself can feel like a betrayal, even if anybody does have a right to break up with you, and even if anybody can end a relationship at any time. I will share a personal story about this, because I do have one that's slightly cringy and slightly embarrassing. But I remember during one of my breakups, I don't know if you remember me talking about the Norwegian partner that I had. During that breakup, I had pulled up all of the screenshots where he had said, "You're the love of my life, I can't wait to marry you, I can't wait to be with you." I had went back and found every single time there was any sort of promise or any sort of intention of continuing the relationship. And after the breakup, I had sent him like just blowing up his phone, message after message of all of those texts that he had sent me to say, what has happened here? What about all of these things that you said? And for him, it was like it didn't even matter.
They just make excuses.
Yeah. And he's like, well, things are different now. Things have changed. And this can be really, really, really hard to accept when you've been so believing of those things and so hopeful in the relationship, and when your intention was to continue the relationship. So part of the grieving process is also accepting that change.
By the way, how'd it go when you sent those messages?
Oh, really bad. Yeah. It was like it did not faze him at all. You know? I was thinking, well, if I show him what he said, then he's going to realize and say, you're right, I did promise you that. All right, we'll stay together.
I was wrong about how I'm feeling right now.
Exactly.
I'm back in.
That's what I was hoping for. But
it doesn't go well.
Work. No.
Using guilt to try and manipulate somebody, it doesn't work. It's not going to create attraction. And ultimately, a big part of our connections is attraction, which is why I'm constantly telling you guys to work on your attachment issues, because attachment issues lead to behaviors that weaken attraction. When you're demanding, when you're anxious and controlling and manipulative, or you're not emotionally available or attuned to your partner, all of these are attachment wounds that you have to heal and learn how to be a good partner. If you don't, attraction is going to weaken with somebody that you had a strong connection with. And yes, part of the problem is them, of course, but you can only control who you are and how you show up in the relationship. So you gotta work on that.
Exactly. Breakups always do have a reason behind them. Even if your ex hasn't told you what the reason really is, even if your ex just ghosted you and, didn't say anything ever again, there's always some reason as to why somebody ends a relationship. So this is what we want you to think about too. We can have the tendency to blame ourselves during a breakup. We go into, well, what did I did wrong? Was it something I said? Was it something I did? And we tend to put blame. We say it's our fault, when a lot of times it's not.
Now, sometimes it can be your fault. You don't want to ignore that either.
Right.
Because you have to be responsible for how you showed up, and you want to try and objectively grow so you can see if you did make mistakes or you did do things to turn them off and improve the connection. But it is true, there are a lot of things and factors that come in. Mental health is a big one. Their attachment issues is a big one. Obligations to friends and family. Those things come up. They may have kids. They may have parents that have illnesses. They may have massive responsibilities with jobs or helping family members financially. They may struggle with anxiety and depression. There's tons of different things that are going to come up that can lead to the breakup. And not all of it has to do with you. So don't assume it, but don't ignore.
Right. And you're right. Sometimes it is, behaviors that you exhibit in the relationship, and everyone has their limits. So you have to remember that too. Everyone does have their limits. They can only tolerate so much of a certain behavior before they say, I have to end this, I have to leave. And that's not to say that these behaviors or things that you might be doing in the relationship can't be changed or worked on or improved on.
Absolutely, you can.
So you have to realize that for them, it's less about what they're doing to you and more about protecting themselves. This is more about their own process, their decision, how they view the situation, than it is about you. A lot of times we can think they did this to hurt me, or we can feel even attacked during a breakup. We tend to take it so personally because this was our partner, because this was our person that we trusted. So when they end the relationship, we think, they must know how hurt I am. Why would they do this knowing how hurt I am? Because they are in this period of time where they are focused on themselves and they feel like they need to separate for whatever reason it is, they are more focused on that than they are about how it affects you.
Yeah,
that doesn't necessarily make it right, but that's just, what their process looks like.
Yeah, I was just going to agree that sometimes they're so overwhelmed with how they're feeling that they're in that tunnel vision, they can't even think about how things are impacting you. And that really hurts.
Yeah, exactly. It's really hard to empathize and separate at the same time. it does take, like Craig was saying, a lot of health and a lot of skill to be able to do that.
Yep. It's not easy to do. That's why most people can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do, and where do you go from there? Well, you have to process. Margaret used to say it all the time. You have to process things. You have to think about things. You have to think about how you're feeling. Maybe you're feeling betrayed, angry, sad, hurt, shocked, disappointed, and you have to grieve. And it's very hard to grieve. People do not like to grieve. Margaret used to say one of the hardest things for people to do is to grieve. Mm-hmm. But understand that your ex and anybody that you date is going to have their own issues and their own problems and their own mental health issues that may be affecting them. And so it's not as personal as we often feel like it is. It often feels overwhelmingly personal. How could they do this to me? I was so good to them. We had such a good connection. But you have to understand, all of their own issues are coming up that it might not have anything to do with you. I've been in situations where, I know it was a great partner, but it was the surrounding circumstances that they weren't ready for a relationship yet. And I see that sometimes, where somebody is enmeshed with their family, mm-hmm. or they're depressed, or maybe they're just coming out of a divorce, and they're not ready to give you something. And they try and tell you in an honest, sincere way, but it still feels very personal. And many times it's not.
Mm-hmm. Another thing I want to note about this statement, that really is a sentiment a lot of people have. A lot of our clients tell us that they feel this way. I have personally felt this way after a breakup, is it positions you as the victim. Why did they do this to me? We want you to think about things that make you feel powerful. We want you to get your power back, you to tune into yourself, into what you want, how you want your life to be. And I know right now you're thinking, well, I want to be back with my ex. That's what I want.
That's all I want.
Right. But I mean, on a deeper level, outside of repairing things with your ex, as much as you may want that, what things are important to you? This time of singleness is your time to connect with those values. Mm-hmm. Also, reassuring yourself, your ex probably is not going to be there for you to soothe you through this breakup. So you have to be able to be compassionate and show yourself that love that your ex can't right now. So just be mindful of that. Mm-hmm. And that can be reassuring yourself that everything's going to be okay. Taking care of yourself, make sure you're feeding yourself, make sure you're getting adequate sleep, even the most basic needs, and reminding yourself that feelings do change. Feelings change, and that could have caused the breakup, but feelings also do change after that. Mm-hmm. How you're feeling right now, this dreadful feeling, probably is going to change. Most likely it's going to change. And it does get better.
It does.
Mm-hmm. Another last thing I want to say is we might not know all the reasons as to why people act the way they do.
That's true.
There's a lot of times where people act in ways that we would least expect, in mm-hmm. ways that really shock us, in ways that really hurt us. The human mind is really, really complex. Human behavior is really complex. But as time passes and as you work on these attachment issues, as you work on your own self-confidence, you become more and more resilient to that type of change and to uncertainty. Mm-hmm. So we say that to end this video really with that message of hope. Why did they do this to me? How could they do this to me? But also, I can manage this. I can get through this.
Yep, you can. You will.
Mm-hmm.
It may not be easy, and there will be difficult days, and some days and times of the day will be more difficult than others. But eventually you'll get there, and the more that you work on things and heal your attachment issues and work through your own issues, the better place that you're going to be, the more resilient you're going to become, and the more confident you're going to become.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so hopefully this one's been helpful. Of course, if you want to get our help personally, you can do that on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Skype. Coach Victoria is available for Skype coaching.
I'm here whenever you'd like to chat.
Just click on her name at the top of the website to schedule with her. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And we will talk with you soon.